It was 1944, and Germany was losing the war on all fronts. Despite their reverses on the battlefront, the Nazis were determined to destroy the Jews of Europe, and their final target was the Hungarian Jews. Tom was placed in a Hungarian fascist forced labor camp. Enduring air raids and brutal treatment, he was determined to survive the war. He later escaped and reached a safe house in Budapest, established by Swedish humanitarian Raul Wallenberg, who would ultimately save 100,000 Hungarian Jews. By mid-January 1945, after heavy house-to-house fighting in Budapest, the Germans finally retreated, and the Soviet army claimed the city. A search for his mother and the rest of his family ended in vain. They had been sent to concentration camps and murdered by the Nazis. Tom immigrated to the United States, where he became an economics professor and scholar before embarking on a distinguished political career as a United States congressman from California.
My exodus comes on the ship, the SS Marine Falcon, as it enters New York Harbor, and I see the Statue of Liberty. To me, that's a physical move from a totalitarian society to a free society. And I've had the joy of living it every single day since that summer day in 1947.
Do you think of yourself as a Holocaust survivor?
Well, I think of myself first as a grandfather of 17, as a husband of a remarkable woman. We have been married only 54 years.
Oh, well, you've certainly given it a good try.
Well, the first 54 years, Dick, were wonderful, but I'm worried about the next 54 years. I've heard about the 59-year itch, and you have to be careful. But
just go with it.
Exactly. I do feel very strongly that I am first and foremost an American patriot. I am so grateful to be living in this country. And I'm so grateful that as a survivor of the Holocaust, at my stage in life, I have the privilege of serving in the Congress.
You were in what was called a work camp, I believe?
I was a work camp. My work camp had basically one responsibility. The British and the American bombers were bombing a very important railroad bridge, and my company's responsibility was to repair it, and we were working on it pretty much non-stop. We were very incompetent and not very eager to get the job done, but that was our responsibility in work camp. Many, perhaps most of my colleagues perished in that enterprise.
The proper designation was forced labor camp.
Forced labor camp. Yeah. You know, one of the things that you come to understand when you go through truly horrific experiences is how unjust the world is. Infinitely more deserving men, women, and obviously children. 1.5 million children were killed in the Holocaust who should have survived and didn't. And while you aren't preoccupied for the rest of your life asking, why did I survive, and much better, men and women and children didn't, it gives you some perspective. And it also teaches you that wonderful little book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff.
Yes.
And it's all small stuff. So you have to focus on things that matter.
Could such a sweeping villainy ever happen again?
If people lose the will to fight evil, yes, it can happen again.
Is there any advice you can give people if they find themselves in a life full of tragedy, as you both did, of how to cope? How do you deal with it?
Well, it would be much too presumptuous to give advice, but I do have some insights. And probably the single most important one is that you are not very important. The things you believe in or the projects you are engaged in or the people you are trying to help are very important. But to learn your own insignificance is probably the most fundamental single lesson one learns in life. Once you learn that there is so much to do, which in a modest little way can leave this planet slightly better, less evil, less selfish, less monstrous, then you gain enormous energy to keep moving on.